So, I've just spent the last 3 days seeing the re-release of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And the extended versions, the ones I'd never seen before. I knew they existed, but never taken the time to go and find them and all that. What can I? You know what? This is one of my favorite film series ever, but I never got the chance to like really see it when it came out. I was kind of too young. I was 8 years old when the first one came out, and so never really felt it in a cinema and all that. But Odeon, my nearest Odeon, was showing them, and I thought, why not? So last since Saturday, I've been at all of them. 4 hours sitting in the cinema. Wow, time goes by. I'm gonna forget what it's like to suddenly actually have to do something from 2 o'clock onwards. um, but what can I say about them? They just re-emphasize just how good they are, how good of films they were. For a while, I was always an advocate for the Dark Knight trilogy being the best in my lifetime, but Lord of the Rings, and I think I've got to have Lord of the Rings and the Dark Knight equal now, because after seeing them in the cinema and really feeling just watching them, like just sitting there and watching them rather than on a TV, they're just they're just so well made. And there's a part of me that feels like real prop true cinema greatness peaked with Lord of the Rings, but it's been 20 years. I know other people have their opinions on films now. I mean, especially if you follow Critical Drinker and all that. I mean, he just wants to slate everything that he doesn't like, or but at least he likes Lord of the Rings. Thank goodness. Um, what can I say? They are just well made films, and they don't age. They don't really age, and they are still well put together to this day. And you wouldn't think that these films came out 20 years ago. You wouldn't think that it's been 20 years since they first came out in the cinema and all that. Seeing there's some bits in there I saw and I thought it made more sense as to what led to as to what came later on, but it was just nice seeing things that you perhaps didn't see in the original cut. Imagine how much cutting they had to do in the editing room and all that. Um, I watch it now and I see Viggo Mortensen is forever will be Aragorn. I just can't. God forbid if when he's no longer with us and they try to do it, I would redo it again. I would just say no, leave it. You can't outdo him. And then obviously Ian McKellen as Gandalf. They're talking about him potentially being Gandalf again, and he's nearly 80 years old, but there is only one Gandalf, and it's Ian McKellen, and wait until he's passed on before you even think of doing it. Do not recast him whilst he's alive. Is my only tip. You just what after watching all of them, it felt like such a perilous thing that Sam and Frodo were going through, and you just kind of like you're just willing them on at the end of it because you just feel like they've gone through such hell and they finally get there and they just look absolutely exhausted. And I think I would be if I've trekked all the way from far and wide from my home region all to destroy a ring and all that. Um, I'm also reminded of just how creepy Andy Serkis was as Gollum and all. I mean, for me as a kid, Gollum was terrifying. I used to be terrified of Gollum because just the way he talked and all that. But now, obviously, little fact, I can actually I can do a bit of Gollum and all. I can do a Gollum and all that when if someone asks me to do it. But you know what I was after all I thought of coming out of the cinema today was it's like I was mentally just saying thank you to J.R.R. Tolkien, but especially a thank you to Peter Jackson, because so many directors get a project that's already been done by some famous author, and they always want to tamper with it, to put their little bits in there themselves. They always want to redo it a little bit in their image, but credit to Peter Jackson for wanting to honor J.R.R. Tolkien and his what he wanted to give us, and to be able to do it and in the way he did, and not this could have been like the end of Peter Jackson if it had gone wrong and all that, and because he was able to convince studios to finance millions of dollars, like $100 million budgets, which hadn't been done at that time, and for him to be able to do that, and also for it to be a success, he's dined out on that for 20 years, but I mean, if any of it hadn't worked, it definitely would have ended him. I don't think Hollywood would have held him in such high regard since. Um, the other thing is that you get the feeling even with minor characters that they all brought it. Nobody really slacked off. Nobody was outperforming the other. Some people stood out, but you never got the feeling that you could look at everyone and say, "Oh, they all well, he wasn't as good," and all that. It feels like every character has a contribution to it, and that's what makes it work so well. Is that nobody really outshines the other, or no one's minor in it. Everyone's got their part to play, and you root for it. And the key film for any good film or good series of films or any TV is if you have characters to root for, then that's what draws you in. That's what makes you want the ones you root for to succeed or the ones to win. But God, they go through all the perils. Um, but again, it is definitely one of the best trilogies ever, and it deserved all the awards it got. But it was just nice that they re-released them and all that, because as I say, didn't get to see them in the cinema when I was a kid, and now I get to relive them, and I really felt the great experience of seeing them. And bravo to Peter Jackson and everybody who brought the projects to life. Gave me a child that I can always relive over and over again. And what more could I ask for? Just wanted to do this because I felt like I needed to react to it immediately. Give myself time, have some dinner, which I've just done. And now, obviously, what more can I say? Bravo. Peace out.